So now we need to talk a little bit how you make the introduction to your documentary. It's good to have a kind of a title page, basically. So first of all, you have to find a good image to have for your title page. I like this one, so I decide to use this as my title. And then we need to go to Shotcut, right? And one thing I should point out, I just learned this, so I mean a lot of this you play around with. There's different layouts for Shotcut, and so you can play around with just adding the different filters you want, moving stuff around, but you can also do it this way, put the different layout you like. I like Timeline Project. I think that works well. So I'm going to go to my folder where I keep everything. So I'm going to talk a little bit about organization here. So I have a folder that says Nagai Takashi Documentary. And one thing about folders, there's different ways you can organize things. You can right click, view. You could do like extra large icons and then you'll see everything. And sometimes it's good if you're working with images because you may not remember the name of the image, but you can look around until you find it. You may say, oh, that's too large. I'm going to switch to just the large ones. And we can go around and try and find the image that way. Right, we know that's not it because that was the wrong, or I'm sorry, we know that's not it because that's the PowerPoint. And so there we are. And I noticed I had actually named it 01 because it's the first slide. So an easier way to have found it, because I actually did it right, if I would have gone to details, and I can make things organized by name, and it's going to put everything that's one first. And there's the image, there's the sound file that goes with it. Notice I had to make several different ones because I was experimenting to see what worked. But this is the advantage of naming things, making sure everything's numbered and everything's matched, because you'll see the image, the sound file are together, and then I name the video file the same, so they're all there nice and connected. That makes life a lot easier. Now I just want to point out you can also organize them by type. So then you would have all your images together and you would have all your sound files together. That's just a thing if you weren't sure how to do that. That can kind of make life easier. But let's go ahead and get that ready. So we know we're doing this one. Just drag it over here and boom, I've got it. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because I actually want to see my timeline. And I'm going to drag it down now here. And now we've got it. Now, I need to include the kind of filter to include like the title. So what I do here is I have to select this image, and then notice it says filters. Right. So what I do is I add filter, and then I'm going to do video, and I'm going to do text, simple. I'm going to actually, if you click this, it adds it to the favorite. I'm going to take text HTML off the favorites because it confuses me. Boom. And then it's going to give me text. Now, see how it says time code and it has the hashtag symbols around it? That's so it tells you like where it's at. So if you were to hit play, it goes up. And that's useful for people who are doing some really serious editing. I'm not that serious. I'm not that good at it. I'm just a poor historian trying to figure things out. So what you can do, you can just write your title. And notice it automatically puts it out there. And you can also then change the font, or you can change the color of the font. So we could make it red or black. If that's what we want, we hit OK. Now, whoop, it's black. And you can also change the outline. So we can make it black with like a white outline. And we can make the outline thicker. Okay. Now that's legible. I can see that. And then you can also make it, you can play around with it. So it will go to the left, the center, the right. That actually doesn't show anything, but there we go. You can make it go bottom. You can make it go top. You can play with the size. You can play with the position in these ways. It's whatever you want to do. You can play around with it to see what works. So that's great. So what happens then, and you can also, I believe, you can like shrink it down, like you can grab the little blocks and you can move. Oh, you got to catch the center, right? You can catch the center, you can move it around too. So this way you can write the title. Right, this way you can enter your title. That's how you do it. And if we play, it's just going to sit there. So that's nice. Now that's a way you can begin it. let's say, though, we want to make things interesting. It's kind of not as fun to start with something that's just blank. So what I did was my children play the piano. So I had my wife record them when they were last practicing. Let's see if I can find it. There we are. David piano intro. Had my son play the piano. So let's go into Audacity, which is a great program. And I'm going to delete this file because I'm done with it. And I'm going to bring in David playing the piano. And I don't like that. I don't think that's a good idea to add that extra track. So I'm just going to hit OK. Oops. I'm just going to open my son's track. I say I want to leave the mistakes in so you can kind of see how these things work. There we are, David piano intro. Okay. I don't know why it has 2 recordings, but I tried it. It doesn't matter, and it's fine. So here, let's just play it. Now I got lucky because I was like, wow, that's about the right length of what would work, I think, for a intro. It's not too long. So what I can do is I can take this. I select over. Oh, I'd already done that. Well, let's say I need to show you how to do this. So I want to cut out. I don't want it to be so long at the end. So I'm going to just cut it out here. Oops. I'm going to select this to cut it. And then I just press the delete button and now it's gone. And I maybe want to chop this down a little bit more. So I select that, press the delete button. Now it's gone. So now I've got this sound file, right? Oops, there we go. You know, I like that. I think that's a good way to start. So here's the thing, though. I double-clicked it there to select everything. I want to add an effect because it's going to sound really weird, right? Because what's going to happen is when it's just going to go from that slide and then suddenly just the music will kind of stop. So I'm going to make it so that let's see, fade out. I want to fade out. Notice how the volume's just going to get quieter on its own. See? I think that's a nice effect. And then I could just export the project as an MP3. I'm not going to do that because I've already done that once before. So what I can do now, you can see David piano intro fade out. Notice I used the file description to explain what I was actually doing. I can bring that in here. I'm going to go down here. Lovely music, but I need to be able to speak. I'm going to add an audio track. So now I can do that. And what I'll do next is I'm going to expand this. See, sometimes it doesn't want to go past the white line. There we go. So now they match. So that makes a nice little transition. And then I could just file, export video. Then I just hit the export file button. And then I would just choose the name of the file here. Notice I already selected 101 Nagai Takashi intro. Boom. We're in good shape. So that's how you would do that intro. Very simple, not difficult at all. Now, here's something else we need to talk about. We have to give credit where credit is due. People worked hard on these things. So you want to make sure you give image credits. Right, so image credits, Nagai Takashi Memorial Museum. I got some images from there. And I got images from the Wikipedia Commons. And these images I'm using are all old enough that they're considered public domain. If they were not, I would have to actually give credit for each individual image, right? If that's required. And I'll talk about that momentarily. But I gave that credit, Nagai Takashi Memorial Museum. A lot of the photos I got from the Wikipedia Commons, so I wanted to note them. I'll talk about Wikipedia Commons momentarily. I gave credit to David. If you use music, you need to still give credit to the person who's playing the music, and you should give the title. One thing I want to point out, that was my son who had to give me permission because I'm his dad. He won't get to play video games if he doesn't. Giving me permission to use his music. And so that's okay. If you want to use other music, you have to get permission. There are music websites that have free music, but they still usually require that you give, that you note where you got it from. If you want to try and do something like that, please email me, and I have a list of those sites, and I'll be happy to share them with you. But like I said, you want to give credit where credit's due. I also included research credits. This isn't so strict about, I'm not so strict about like using Chicago style or something in this. I just want to give enough information that people can find it. So I know that I used Wikipedia. So for example, I did not know, I referenced the number of people who died in the bomb. And I just didn't know that information offhand. So I thought it would make sense. Well, if someone wants to find this, they need to look at Wikipedia. I also talked about Nagai Takashi's Bells of Nagasaki. That's like one of his books in English that has information. And there's a nice biography of him called Song of Nagasaki. So I wanted to give that kind of credit to note where you can find this sort of information. So it is important to note this stuff. Now, like I said, the big focus is on images, right? You want powerful images for a powerful documentary. So what you want to do is you want to go to Wikipedia Commons. Notice it corrected me because I said Wikipedia Common. And this is a place where you can find pictures and images that you're allowed to use. So I'm going to look up Nagasaki atomic bomb. Now, this image, let's look at this image. So this image is, I mean, you could certainly use this, but let's look at it a little bit more. Oh, there we go. So if we go down, though, you can use this, you can share, you can copy it, you can use it, but you must give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and indicate if any changes were made. Right, you have to do that, and you would do that in a credits at the end, or you would do that in like in the bottom. If you're putting this up on YouTube, you would like put that in the description. But if you want to use this image, you need to do that. Right, so be careful. Save when you're downloading images. Like I said, go to Wikipedia Commons. It's the easiest way to do it to make sure that the images are okay to use, and then make sure you keep a log that explains which image goes with what website. Now let's keep going though, because I used a lot of stuff. So for example, this image, this is the one. Yeah, licensing. This is public domain. You don't have to do anything. Right, so that's why I didn't have to mention that image. So I just mentioned Wikipedia Commons in general, just so people knew this is where I'm finding these images, but that's public domain, so it's cool. I don't have to really do anything else. So it is important to note where you're getting the information.